me a cold one.
Which one you want?
Pick. Hey, Brandon, you pick.
Me?
For me.
For you?
Give me a Diet Mountain Dew.
Yeah, there's that. That looks really good.
I love that in your...
Yeah.
Oh, man, this is so good.
I'm going to take I'll take another Fever Tree.
Yeah.
Fever Tree. All right. Obviously,
okay.
this is a smorgasbord. There's no topic.
Oh, are we just...
We've already started.
Okay. Yeah, so... we had a whole issue with our last episode, so you'll notice that all of a sudden I'm talking and I sound very muffled. I mean, and that's kind of my regular voice, but the reason is because I was talking into my microphone and Brandon was talking into his. My microphone was off, so we were just using the one microphone. So Brandon is Mr. Crisp.
Can we see yours? Oh, so look at... There has a little off and on switch right there.
Yeah, so that switch is supposed to be on.
You'll see that on the previous video. It was off.
Point it out, please.
Yeah, point that out in the comments,
dude. This, yeah.
And point out what you think about our voices. Like, if mine sounds like a crispy Mr. Crisp type of voice. Yeah,
and mine sounds like
a distant,
not Mr. Crisp,
wayward, non-Mr. Crisp voice.
Some guy yelling from the background. Anyway,
remember the Hermetica, the Shepherd of Men, when it talked about specifically, and even Adam and Eve, the Book of Adam and Eve, I think the first one mentioned this at first, but how beautiful, like how God was like, oh my, man is so beautiful, and like God fell in love with man. Mm-hmm. Like,
you'll fall in love with Brandon.
You'll fall in love with my voice,
and you'll come to despise my voice by the end of that podcast. We went for an hour. And we're gonna have to listen to anyway. But we're like, we can't re-record this, so whatever. Hopefully, because it was really good one. I mean, we talked about important stuff. It's just Anyway,
it was a one microphone recording, and it was pointing towards right towards me.
Yeah, so you can hear Brennan's golden vocals,
Mr. Crisp.
Yep, and me anyway.
So what's going on, Mark?
Well, here we are. Actually, first thing I want to talk about.
Oh, really? So, am I not expecting this?
No.
Oh,
you are expecting this because this is what we've been talking about. But is the book that we are both currently checking out, right?
Yeah.
The Cave and the Light.
The Cave and the Light by it is Arthur
Herman.
Arthur Herman.
Yeah. So this book is so good. It's been blowing my mind. I don't know. Okay, so it's basically the debate that's been raging for centuries between Plato and Aristotle.
Which I never knew there was a huge debate.
Neither did I. That's why
I'm not a philosopher, so
yeah. That's why. But the interesting things. Okay, have you ever heard of the band Philosopher Kings?
I have heard that name.
I think they're an alt.
Yeah, I've heard the name.
Rock, or
yeah.
I figured you would have known them, but they talk about Philosopher Kings, and that's part of Plato's thing.
Okay,
is that
cool?
Anyway, but the thing is, I too have never really paid attention to philosophy and stuff because it just seems so distant and hard to understand. Especially Plato. Like I remember I was actually reading the Republic. Yeah. Years ago, whenever I got those World Great Classics from that thrift store.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, books? I remember that. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I was on a flight. Anyway, whatever. But I was reading that and I was like, this guy's so ridiculous. Like the way he, like, if Plato? This is this, then that must be that. Yeah. And it's like, but anyway, and I was like, I got it. And actually, though, whenever I finally got in that point to the cave analogy, that was really cool. Mm-hmm. But the other thing, his little debate was like...
And I've heard the cave analogy before, so I kind of knew what that was about. Or I thought I knew at least, but...
Anyway, I just... So I was like, I think this might be one of those sealed books. Most of this philosophy stuff for me.
Okay.
Something that I'm just not going to be able to penetrate.
Yeah.
And so
I get it.
Actually, I heard an interview of Arthur Herman
On a podcast that you're listening to, right?
on Michael Malice. Anyway,
Is that a podcast?
yeah, it's You're
Okay.
Welcome. But
Okay.
anyway,
That's how
actually the last 2 weeks he's had 2 good authors on.
So I found out about the book because Mark, you tweeted something about the good author.
Yeah.
Oh, you said you gotta quit having good authors because I'm having to read their books.
Having to and learn stuff.
I saw Mark's tweet because I like most people follow him, and
No, not most people. I got like 7 people.
and I saw it, and so I was like, I checked it out, and the name of it was like, oh, this sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I judge a book by its cover too, and it has kind of a cool like artwork on the cover. I like the way it looks.
Yeah, it's got that one where I think Plato's pointing up to heaven or whatever in the...
And no, wait, Aristotle's pointing to heaven, Plato's pointing forward.
I would think that Plato would be pointing to heaven and Aristotle would be pointing... Anyway, whatever. Because I'm saying Aristotle or Plato's more...
Let me see the cover.
Of the mind, kind of... that's what's his name?
Aristotle's on the left.
Yeah, Aristotle's pointing forward.
Let me see. Well, hold on.
See, that's Socrates.
Oh, okay.
So that makes sense.
Mark's right.
Anyway, so that's the basic philosophy. But anyway, so I never knew any of this stuff, and he does it. Arthur Herman. He does it in such a way that even I can understand it, and he uses not anecdotes, little things to explain.
So you're a lot further in the book than I am.
Yeah.
I just picked it up a few days ago. I actually borrowed it. I'm not gonna get my trick out, but you
got it from the library.
I got it from the library.
Yeah.
And so I had to wait a day and a half to get it, which was cool because some books that I try and I put on hold, you wait for weeks for them. So this was a great timing. I would have bought it if it was that big of a wait, but saving money using the public libraries.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, so you wanted to mention that because it's really kind of an interesting thing for you, right?
Yeah, and I'm saying if you're interested at all in philosophy or trying to gain some understanding, because
just the prologue alone was really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying in all the stuff now that we're talking about, like with the Hermetica and stuff, I'm like, wait, okay, now I understand where kind of the Hermetic teaching comes from.
Yeah.
It's actually one of those schools of thought. It's more towards the Plato. And I'm just like, whoa. Anyway, it's really a great, interesting story. It goes through basically the history of Western thought by using kind of the two camps, but it also talks about Stoicism and other ones too.
Oh, does it? Have you gotten to that point?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So he talks about some of the different ones and how those are revived. So it's really a neat thing of Western thought. So
awesome.
Yeah.
You're living the dream.
Yeah.
All these different books and stuff.
No, and it's one I actually would listen to this one probably at least a couple more times.
Okay, cool. So it's a good thing you bought it. You bought it, right?
Yeah.
It's a good thing you bought it.
Yeah, because I wanna be able to know stuff.
Yeah, you want to be smart.
Yeah, it's just interesting because it even goes into like the thoughts of early Christian thinkers and how they used it, how they used these two schools of thought.
Do you remember which ones?
All of them.
Oh, really?
All of them.
I know that
Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah, I know that a lot of the early Christian thinkers were like pretty much philosophers, in certain ways.
But they would because some would take Plato's side, on the whole. Okay, I mean the whole idea that kind of the body is the enemy and it's the mind.
Yeah.
and it goes with the Hermetic thing, because remember that you're launched down here, but you have these different things that are put up upon you as you're coming down that hold you back.
Yeah.
That you have to overcome. And then whenever your mind is being taken up, your spirit or whatever is taking it up again, those things are dropping away.
Yeah, like the 7 tiers.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Shepherd of Men.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So that's a very Platonic or Plato thinking way of thinking. Whereas I guess who's the other guy? Aristotle was more like kind of like, well, nature isn't all bad. And part of the world, actually part of, and this goes along with the thing Age of Reason that I was listening to, that was by Thomas Payne.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this is something
you listened to that?
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
Like, I was just like, what the heck? Like, Thomas Payne. Okay, he's the one that wrote Common Sense. He's one of the
well, he's one of the first
firebrands of the American Revolution.
Well, I think he sometimes he's labeled as being like one of the first American philosophers.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm saying his common sense was very like it was common sense,
Yeah.
I mean, but it was against the monarchy of the British and stuff, and he just lays it out.
That's cool.
And it was one that was super popular, that was all over the place, and that helped to stoke the fires of the American Revolution.
And so the one that you listened to is called Age of Reason?
Yeah, Age of Reason. And so and I was like so surprised, because it was all about against the Bible and any kind of miracles in the Bible and mysticism.
Yeah.
It was I was like, what? This is the same guy that, why don't people don't talk about this part of his thing, because he's a deist.
Yeah, okay.
And deists is the basic philosophy, and this is kind of where Aristotle was that you can get to know God by getting to know nature.
Yeah.
By watching nature and figuring these things out, you can see God's works. It was really neat.
I love
it's a
that.
Neat idea.
I love that concept.
Yeah, it's like by seeing, you can see his hand by the clockmaker's hand, or whatever you want to, the universal clockmaker.
Yep.
And you don't need these miracles and stuff.
And that's kind of not necessarily the you don't need these miracles part, but the looking at what's right there in front of you is kind of a hermetic way of looking at it too.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah. Actually the divine time.
That's really interesting. I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, because actually I have a quote. It is from the study of the true theology that all our knowledge of science is derived. But he considers true theology, I think he may, and it is that knowledge that the almighty lecturer, by displaying the principles of science in the structure of the universe, has invited man to study and to imitation. It is as if he had said to the inhabitants of this globe that we call ours, I have made an earth for man to dwell upon, and I have rendered the starry heavens visible, and to teach him science and the arts, and he can now provide for his own comfort and learn from my munificence to all to be kind to each other.
Who said that?
That is in Thomas Payne's Age of Reason.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so this is going to so they're using science to get to know God. It's just an interesting.
Oh, I love that.
It's totally like not science. Yeah, it's by looking at the creation and stuff, and seeing the hand and God's, like, instead of, that's the thing, is that he's saying, instead of like inspired men, these men that actually have visions of God and stuff.
Yeah.
That's not the way God works. God
No.
works through nature, and we can see His hand, and we can make our lives better through the things He's given us through reason and through studying nature and science.
So first of all,
Anyway,
I can tell you right now that I'm glad that your microphone got fixed because you're profound right now.
I'm just saying
Man,
His words.
how much this would suck if your microphone was still broken.
I'm all like, her, Brandon.
Yeah,
So
that's
anyway,
pretty cool. I love seeing different people from different times and from different like schools of thought, but actually not really different, kind of almost the same in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But when they all tie together,
Well,
that's cool.
That's the thing is that
And that's living, right? According to what we went through in our last episode with Seneca.
yeah.
That's life. Is when you're able to sit down and go, okay, wow, this is really interesting. And when you're able to contemplate about what you're seeing and you're placing it to where it goes and how it fits in with your life, that's living versus just like letting somebody just tell you what your place is, what you're supposed to do, how to do it, and then to just yeah, that's cool.
So I think it goes along with the Hermetic stuff and
Yeah, it does totally.
and whatever, but and it's not. I'm not even saying that his whole, because basically it's a big thing where he just goes and goes through the Bible and kind of shows why he thinks it's not correct.
This is Age of Reason.
Yeah. So
That's a very
but there is some choice quotes in there, like the one I just read, where you're just like, whoa, because I want to learn more about deism, because a lot of the founding people,
exactly,
in the country were deists, and it's like, what the heck is deism,
When you look at
it's basically the kind of a belief in God without believing in miracles, kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, like a more
or revelation,
hands-on, like literal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, without having all the magic and stuff involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. You know what? When you look at, I always quote like my boy Ralph. I'm always quoting him, but that's kind of like the whole transcendentalist concept too. Is like, don't look to external sources for all your stuff, for your knowledge of God. Look right in front of you. Use what you have. Don't be dependent on other people. In fact, I thought it was interesting when I was reading the
you have to eventually come to your own knowledge.
Yeah, when I was reading the essay Self-Reliance by my man Ralph Waldo Emerson. I wish he had a shorter name. Ralphie Waldo.
R.W. Emery.
R.W. Emery? Yeah.
Emmer.
Emmer. So my man Emmer, when he wrote Self-Reliance, one of the things I thought was really interesting is he's sitting there and he has this essay. I'm reading the essay like 180 years after he wrote it, right? I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
But it's like a couple centuries after he wrote it. I'm reading it. And I thought it was 180, probably about 150. But anyways, and in his essay, he has this part where he mentions, and don't read the things from other people.
He's reading this book.
He's like, don't read a book from some other person and let that tell you how to think.
Uh-huh.
And I see his point. He's not saying don't educate yourself. But he's saying don't take a book or don't read something and then this is how I'm going to live.
Yeah.
And then more organically just let it take in what seems right to you and then get rid of what doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, well that's the thing is that I think most of us are born, and as we grow up, we kind of just stick with ideas and stuff that we've never really thought about. We inherit. Whether political, religious, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just this is just what I know, and but eventually, kind of like with the Seneca thing, we can choose our own parents. You know.
I loved that part of that when you
Yeah.
mentioned that.
Well, we better just rehash the whole thing now.
We
That,
better
now that
just-
I'm Mr. Crisp.
Yeah, now that
With
you
the
have
crisp
Mr. Chris voice again. Yeah,
But-
that was really interesting about the Seneca talking about like, hey, you don't get to choose your parents, but you do get to choose who you're a son of.
Yeah.
You know.
You can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you can be with the greats. You can study them, or you can.
You should rewatch
Wallow.
this last recording that we did. You should watch that part because you'll see me kind of like,
whoa,
mind really?
So
yeah.
Anyway, so you know, and just because somebody says it and puts it in words, just because Thomas Payne wrote a great book and then he wrote this other Age of Reason, you know, doesn't mean it's true either. You know,
that's a hard thing.
Doesn't mean that yeah, it's like somebody can say something you don't like, and you know, and they can also write something great that you love.
That's a thing that people. That's just hard skill to learn. I think most people
It is
rather than like learning how to like filter through what they're reading and like decide, you know, and to make these measurements about it and kind of like put it into certain categories in their mind and figure out what works for them. Rather than doing that, it's just safer to like not do it at all, to not read.
Yeah.
You know, to not be educated. You know, a lot of some cultures, you know, and especially different religious cultures, like they're like, no, don't read. You know, and because the written word is really powerful.
Yeah.
And people like have a hard time with like.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things with the devil. Like, oh, the devil's gonna get you. You know, he's gonna. Better be careful what you read. You better, you know, stick with the. And it's like, well, but what is that? The unexamined life. There's some quote about the unexamined life isn't worth living. If you're gonna,
okay,
something like that.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
It was, but I'm just saying, if you have, and it goes along with the Seneca thing though, but if you've lived a life and you haven't examined why you do the things you do and whatever, first off, are you really living? And second, wait, what? I don't know what the second.
The first one trumped everything.
The first one, and second. See the first point again, because I don't know what my second point was going to be, but I'm just saying. So you've got you're just mechanically living if you haven't examined the reason, and you're mechanically thinking.
Yeah, you're the machine,
and it doesn't mean that.
Welcome to the machine.
And the thing that is it doesn't mean that. Because you're examining it, that you're going to come up the idea that the thing that you're examining is wrong.
Yeah, that's the biggest misconception and the fear.
It's like, well, what if you examine it and maybe you come to the conclusion that it's right, and then you can embrace it and really, you know, go forward with it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that's I'm glad that you had that. I'm glad that you had this insight and that you've been reading. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have much to talk about on this.
Oh, I was going to say, what have you...
Mostly, you know, just... I don't... I've been probably working too much lately. So I got the Seneca... I was getting the Seneca done.
Hey, Brandon, treat yourself.
Yeah.
Treat yourself to a little Seneca every now and then.
Yeah.
I understand life gets busy.
Exactly. Live.
Yeah, live. Don't just go through the motions.
Yeah. No,
No, but that's the thing, is that you can only take part, you know, you can only grasp a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I don't have time to just sit there and contemplate, you know.
I do got one thing I can do here. So last episode, I think I mentioned, we didn't do a smorgasbord last time. Last time I was like, hey, I've been writing poetry.
Oh, yeah.
Want me to share a poem?
Yes.
Okay, let me share a poem here.
Is it like, there once was a man from Nantucket?
You know what? I'm not a poet either, so
This will be interesting. Brandon's
yeah.
been.
Let me see here.
So what inspired you to do this?
I think uh, we've been reading some things that were kind of like in a poetic setting, and I think that sometimes you can pass a message or you can put your thoughts down on paper easier. I've been finding that it might be easier for some people to write it in poetry than it is to just write it straight up. When I try and write
Well,
something,
poetry I think can
be more creative with it.
be
And,
possibly create a feeling with the way it's told.
yeah,
That may transcend the actual words. I
yeah.
don't know. Let's see if he does this.
So this one is called the. I've named it different things. It's called Dream Garden. It was called the Seven Gods. Yeah, but I actually.
The Seven Gods.
Yeah. So the background between.
Why did you change it?
I don't know. I don't really know.
Oh, okay.
So about a year ago, I wrote this down, and it's actually on my Reddit, I think, still. But I wrote this down, but it wasn't in poetry form. I was writing down a kind of like an apocalyptic vision. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. And
Like from one. Okay, good.
Yeah, it was an apocalyptic vision.
Yeah.
It was like my own vision, kind of. Right? I'm not saying it actually happened.
Oh, that's why I was like,
yeah.
whoa, Brandon.
So it wasn't like a particular vision. It was like an apocalyptic type of vision that I had. And I wrote it down, and it was fine. Nothing was wrong with it. But about a month ago, I was kind of like, hey, I'm going to try and rewrite that in poetic form. Mm-hmm. So I actually wrote a few other poems too before this. So this is not my first one that I wrote.
Okay.
And so anyways, I'll just read it. The background behind this is that it's an apocalyptic poem, if that can be a thing.
Okay.
Okay. This is going to be funny. I've never read a poem before to anybody.
Here,
so.
give me a soda so I can really get into this fever tree.
Fever tree?
I want to see the burning bush, dude.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Okay. I'm getting stage fright here.
All right.
This is my first time publicly
just read it. Don't worry about.
Okay. Here we go. As within a dream, not sleeping, a shift in realms perceived. Awareness, seven gods summoned of me. Hardly cognitive did rest relent to a garden vista virtually sentient. Who could they be, and what do they seek? You have been dwelling on the eternal math, seeking for answers, believing not in chance. Ask but a question, and we will advance. What is that I call my life? Life is the union of both nature and light. This is Hermetic, right? Mm-hmm. Life is the progression from monad to sprite. Seek for what you will and find what you need, but the answer you seek is already free. The quest is not so much to find, rather to admit and acknowledge the blind. Speak less, my friend, and listen more oft, for the power of word is inferior to thought. May others know of my vision so splendor. We deal not in oaths, but in simple candor. As a shift in realms buzzed and blurred, once again in armchair I did stir, as within a dream not sleeping.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good. Hey, man, that's not ridiculous. I like it. I wasn't sure.
You're like,
great.
You're like, oh, how long can I keep a straight face?
Like, I was like, I better not drink while he's reading because I might just spray out my nose. No, that was good. You know what
you can see the Hermetic influence probably.
Oh yeah,
from that. Mm-hmm. But I actually So yeah, I'm wondering.
It's funny because I have a story that I started writing a long time ago about Adam and Eve.
Okay.
Like about a guy going into the Garden of Eden, like accidentally.
Yeah.
And I thought about writing. Maybe I should write it. It's like a little story, and then he gets to talk to the angel that's guarding the garden.
Didn't you do this a while back?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I never finished it, but and then he kind of tells the background of the story of the Adam and Eve story, and so the guy learns some lessons about life.
So maybe you should try that.
Hey man, if you're willing to to put your poetry out. I won't read it on here because it would be longer than that.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll put it out somewhere.
And I think that's the like I said, I wrote that a while back, about several months ago. It might have been when I first started reading Hermetic stuff, because I'm wondering if the influence came from that. I don't know where the 7 gods came from, because it was definitely before I read The Shepherd of Men. But anyways,
Oh, it was inspired.
well,
Brandon.
it happens to be that the number 7's always been my favorite number, so it could be because of that too. But yeah, I think that like
You have a favorite number?
yeah, I have a favorite color too. I have kids. I have young kids. Like it's important to me what my favorite number is, what my favorite color is.
I remember it was always favorite color was a big deal.
Yeah, favorite number. I've always liked the number 7. Like I own like a few domains that have like 7. Oh, there's 7 stars in Ursa Minor.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so there's a whole thing with that.
Well,
but,
it's a whole Jewish thing too.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I know 7's a big deal.
Yeah,
for
the 7th. Yes, the 7th day, and exactly. So, anyways, that's what I got.
7 seals, man.
Yeah,
Isn't there?
I think there's. Who knows? There's 6, but I think there is a 7th, maybe. I don't know.
Anyway, whatever.
So yeah, cool.
But remember, we were trying to make that parallel with the 7 and the rainbow,
Yeah.
and also like,
Then there's an 8th, and like, oh, it's invisible.
oh yeah, there's an 8th thing, but that the 7 was the. Anyway, well, that's cool. No, I like it. Well, I'm saying that in the monad,
Yeah.
they meant in the book that I'm reading, they mentioned the monad, and I don't remember what exactly it was. What is the monad?
What's a monad?
Yeah,
So you're looking for
it's
the
a cup,
definition,
right?
So
Or is that
no,
something else?
there's a Hermetic text called the monad and the cup.
Oh, okay.
The monad is basically there's this one of the Hermetic principles that in the Kybalion at least is it's called the basically it's the law of correlation, and it says from observing the monad you can understand the archangel, and the monad represents the smallest thing.
Oh, okay. That's
the smallest most
like an atom or something.
yeah. So that monad is just like the very smallest thing, and so from observing something small, you can learn the big things in life.
Yeah.
And that's what I think the concept of is the
Well,
monad.
that's kind of like that age of or that thing with that
Yeah.
you can learn about God by looking at what's around you.
It's like Siddhartha watching the river, and
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Well, anyway, I think that as you're going to be going through that book, you know, the light,
Cave in the Light.
Cave in the Light, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, now, like serious. I'm just like, whoa, like I didn't realize all this stuff came from where it all came from, So
That's
anyway.
cool. No, I'll enjoy having that. The dots make sense,
Yeah, it connects. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, well, now I can see, but it's almost like, kind of like, there's a middle path, because it's not one or the other. It's the middle.
Is it the path less taken?
The road less traveled.
The road less
perhaps?
traveled.
And I chose the nice paved road because it was easy.
The easier one that has a bench every 500 feet.
Yeah, that everybody else is going down. Hey, you know what? Somebody might want to take the rough road, but
Yeah, not me. Cool. Well, you got anything else, Mark?
that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. Thanks for sharing your poetry.
Yeah, I'm a poet now.
So
You're definitely a philosopher
he's
with your.
going to be published.
Yeah, I'm definitely a poet. You're definitely a philosopher.
Well, I just quoted somebody else's words, but that's the thing, is that
We
it's
mentioned this earlier.
It's taking something that you've heard and then putting it in your own words.
Yeah, we mentioned that earlier. Yeah,
and expanding on it. That's
Don't
philosophy.
depend on outside. Use it as needed to find the way that you need to go, but then start to and that's my egotistic comment from earlier. Start to write your own scriptures.
Yeah. I mean,
what was Plato doing? Or these people
Plato
weren't
definitely
so,
wrote
like,
his own because he was taking the words. It seems like he was taking Socrates because he never wrote his own stuff. Like
Socrates.
Socrates.
Yeah.
But I'm saying Plato never wrote his own words. Technically, he was always using it as Socrates taught. So he was able to make it into his own thing, but use Socrates as the teacher.
Yeah,
It's really interesting.
You do have like he has like a couple things that he wrote that were like,
well, no, but
more historical
his
and
main
stuff,
ones,
but his philosophy,
his main ones are,
yeah,
like are the discussions. So he was able to. He also it seems like he was able to control it to be like, oh well, this person asked this way, and then all of a sudden, oh well, of the perfect debate. Oh, good points, Socrates.
That's like
I guess I'll have to, it's.
That's like a format, right? Is the teacher to student?
Yeah.
Format.
Mm-hmm.
That's the format used by the Hermetic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The teacher to student.
Yeah. That's true. That's what I'm saying. So, like, whenever you learn this, you're like, oh, it really opens your mind to the way that, to where a lot of these things that we're talking about come from.
We should do an episode where you're the teacher and I'm the student, and you just like lay it down.
You're like, I don't think I know enough to. No, yeah, nope. We need to get Porter on here.
Yeah, our next guest would be Porter.
Dude, yeah,
it's a legend.
So anyway, if you're interested, if you check out that book, check out The Age of Reason.
Yeah,
it's
that
an interesting
cool
one. Like I said,
and they're both probably the Age of Reason is probably available on LibriVox, right?
Oh yeah, it is.
Or at least
that's where I was listening to it.
Okay.
Yeah. See. Okay. By the way, I have a job where, I'm driving and stuff, so I'm always listening to, sometimes long distances where I'm downloading different books and listening to them. So that's how I can get through. I'm not like some super genius. I'm like, this guy reads so much. No, I just listen to it. I let somebody else do it.
He reads so much.
And anyway, so, but we'll come back and we'll get back into the Hermetica.
Yep, it'll be fun.
I don't know. We'll talk about how we're going to do it. We'll start taking a couple books at a time or something.
Yeah, 17 will be a long way to do it.
Yeah,
like 17 times.
Yeah, there's no. So we'll take a couple at a time and kind of maybe like we did with the Seneca.
Yeah,
we'll kind of point out the big things, the big doctrines in
the kind of skip parts.
Yeah, like okay, because you could go through the whole conversation, but you want to kind of pull the meat out.
Oh, deep. An analogy. All
anyway.
right. Well, this was a good smorgasbord. Thanks, Mark.
Cheers.
Ginger Fever Tree, our unsponsor sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.